Hello and welcome to court. If you hear the sound of a robot dying in the background, just know that that is my fridge. And yes, I have reported it to the apartment. And no, they have not fixed it. But you know what? Just like a nail, we will press on. In this video, I am going to be going on a road trip with my family, and I wanted to show how the Green Book still influences the lives of Black people as we road trip across America. If you don't know what the Negro Motorist Green Book is, I'll give you a little bit of insight. There will be links in the description for more reading, as this is quite a vast topic and definitely deserves the full amount of time that I'm not going to be able to give it during this video. The Negro Motorist Green Book, or commonly known as the Green Book, was written by Victor Hugo Green. And although no longer published, it was in service from 1936 to 1967. This book had a lot of different stops and cities where it was safe for Black people to go as we traveled on the road. You see, for most of the Green Book's publication, public transit was not desegregated. A lot of times the places that public transit stopped, like if you were on a bus, was not necessarily a place that Black people could go to refresh, even to use the bathroom. So as cars became a little bit more accessible, Black people did what all Americans were doing at the time, taking road trips. These road trips still had to abide by the laws of Jim Crow and segregation, which meant that you could stop in a place that wasn't necessarily safe. While sundown towns were an extreme concern, sundown towns are towns where Black people are not supposed to be after sundown. While legally that is not the case, the law would not investigate if something happened to a Black person, and Black people have been unalived in these places. I do just want to stop and address that because I know folks are going to be like, murder's not legal. I don't care what Jim Crow was happening and the segregation, that murder was not legal. Correct. It was not legal. But if everyone in the town has decided that no Black people will be permitted to stay in the town after sundown, and I do mean everyone, so this means that any police services, any judges, any lawyers, everyone has decided this, medical staff, everyone knows that this is how this town works. If you get into a violent altercation, who do you call? Who's going to investigate that? Who's going to treat your wounds? Who's going to report you missing? Will your family know that you went missing in this town? This was before cell phones. It wasn't like you could call them or share where you were on your route. They might not ever know what happened to you. So it was best to avoid those towns, and you still had to follow Jim Crow, which means that you could go through several towns, be driving for several hours, and there is not a place to eat, a place to use the bathroom, nothing like that. In many of these places, Black people also weren't able to get basic necessities like water. So the Green Book was used to find where it was safe to lodge, where it was safe to stop, grab a bite to eat, where it was safe to change your baby, where it was safe to get a glass of water. In 1961, CORE, or Congress of Racial Equity, did the Freedom Rides. The Freedom Rides were an amazing, very unique type of boycotting, which was basically challenging pre-existing laws that would have meshed with the fact that public transit should be desegregated. Just like I said, there will be more about everything I'm talking about in the description box. I definitely suggest reading up on that. Thanks to these boycotts and these protests and this action, in 1961, a law was passed and able to make public transportation desegregated. The Green Book continued publication for the next 6 years before stopping publication due to these laws passing. If you know anything about American history, you know that passing this law did nothing in the realms of safety for Black people. However, the need to use the book slowly faded out as people became more connected and had more knowledge of where it was safe to stop and where it wasn't. Currently, and this is not sponsored, the Green Book has been almost revitalized in the Green Book Project, which is an app linked down below, where you can add your own experiences about where it is safe for Black people to stop as a Black person. And I really think that that's an amazing resource because we have this technology. Why not use it? So let's talk about our road trip. First and foremost, I still use a lot of the same rules that were put in place as Black people to stay safe on road trips. And I know a lot of Black people still continue to abide by the fact that we are not welcome everywhere and we are not safe everywhere, especially on the road. I asked on Instagram what people wanted to know about how we get prepared for the traveling process. First and foremost, while I love Dionysus and while I trust Dionysus, I don't let him handle the actual travel procedure and doing all that research because my Black intuition is going to be a lot more sound than his white intuition. I'm going to be placing the questions right up here, but I wanted to answer some of them before I get into how I pack and the road trip itself. Making Pixie Rose asks, what's something that you look at in your research as being more iffy than you're comfy with? Ooh, that's a good question. If I am possibly looking at a place to stop and I don't see any reviews from Black people on Google or Yelp, it's a no for me. If it's not a major city, we don't stop there unless I have family there or it's a Black majority city. And when I'm looking up these Google reviews, I'm not looking up like 5-star restaurants or the McDonald's. I'm looking up very common places that you would see reviews like Walmart, Target. Places that in general, everyone should be going to and everyone should be having a good experience, or at least an experience. Sunny Ray 37 asks, do rest stops need to be checked in your planning as in friendly or not? And how do you find that? We don't stop at rest stops, period. But Muse, you have a small child. You have to stop. As adults, we limit our water intake. We have 2 stops planned for this time, both Walmarts in big cities. When I say limit water intake, we still drink water. We're just not guzzling it like we normally do. For the baby, we have this. It is a little mouse, I think, but it's a bottle that he can go to the bathroom in. It's clean now. That's why it's so close to my face. We are leaving super, super early in the morning. So by the time we stop for our first stop, this will be our time to get breakfast, all that jazz. This is also the time that the baby would go to the bathroom and do what doesn't fit in this bottle. Quite frankly, rest stops are a huge risk to me. I'm not saying that rest stops are, completely 100% unsafe, but it's not something that I want to put myself in with a child. Children do not move quickly. Children do not sense danger. And I want to make sure that I have my child in the safest position while I'm on the road and away from our support system. Ivy So's History asks, how do you check the safety of things like a gas station? I usually keep to major highway rest areas. The reason why we are stopping at Walmarts is because these Walmarts specifically have gas stations so that we can refuel. I know that the first leg of our journey is 297 miles and our car can do about 415 miles per trip. I always like to leave a large amount of buffer. That is going to be a little over 5 hours. Our second stint is about 3 hours, 30 minutes. And that's like, I don't even think that's like 200 miles. I think it's like 150 or something. But we'll be able to get gas there. And then as we arrive, obviously we'll be able to get gas. And that's only 3 hours from our final destination. Personally, I don't trust gas stations. And I try to leave gas stations as an absolute emergency. And even then, in an absolute emergency, like I'm not even going to say it, knock on wood, I'm not going to say it, not going to verbalize that, not going to put that in the universe, I would still try to find a Walmart. Lavender Lady 43 asks, how is the process of fact-checking different hotels for safety? In this situation, I didn't have to fact check hotels for safety. However, when we traveled last October, I did. We stayed in a bed and breakfast that was really close to a major city's university. And I think that is the key point. You want to make sure that you are in a major city. Obviously, if the travel location is out of your control, you want to make sure that, in the words of Mama Muse, you ain't the only speck of something there. I like to travel places where I know there will be other Black people around. Even within major cities, I once again look up the reviews and I just make sure that there are reviews from Black people, from brown people, from all people. And I want to see that they had a positive experience. And I do not discount when someone says that they did not. Even if it is one review, I don't know if they were able to fight the previous reviews that might have said that there was a bad experience or racist vibes or whatever the case is. So I really take that heavily into consideration. I also take the issue around it heavily into consideration. Like if you get mad that they charged you for a cleaning fee and you trash the room, like, you know, I just read very carefully, use my context clues, and weigh the entire situation. Baron Von Costume asks, before the internet, how could folks find the Green Book? The Green Book was distributed by mail by Black churches and could also be found at Esso gas stations. This was not actually common, but over a third of this company was owned by Black folks, so, you know, we gotta help each other out. Erica C.E.A., I might have said that wrong, I'm so sorry. Are bigger towns usually safer? Yes, but there's an asterisk to that. Even within big towns, you still have to do your research to make sure that you are staying, eating at, whatever the case is, the right part of town. And even with big towns, it doesn't mean that a large portion of the town isn't racist. Make Mind Monsters asks, what are some red flags to look for when researching accommodations? I personally do not like to use Airbnb at all unless I know that the owner of Airbnb is Black. That's not to say that, you know, Black businesses are perfect and all that jazz and no Black person has ever done anything wrong. But like, I know that a Black person probably isn't going to attempt to harm me or my family over race. I mainly stick to chain hotels, and there are a few things that always spike my interest. Whenever a chain hotel has some ridiculous rules, I get a little nervous. So I'm not talking like, oh, you know, the pool closes at 11 p.m. or breakfast won't be served after 9. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things where they have an extensive notice about no loitering. They have an extensive notice about noise and all this stuff. I understand that any hospitality accommodation sort of situation kind of has to cover the rules for everything, but a lot of times these laws were put in place after the during Reconstruction rather, as a way to just target Black people and to make it easier for Black people to serve jail sentences. If I'm looking in a downtown area and you specifically have to say no loitering, that's going to raise some alarms because it's a downtown area. It's busy. Someone might have to stop to text. I understand that as a customer. It's concerning that you feel the need to note that. We do enjoy staying at bed and breakfasts, but we like to stay in populated bed and breakfasts or in places that are majority black. That is a situation where I come down and I really get into the reviews. And I mean, like, I personally like to start at the 1-star reviews because that gives me a basis for what is truly going on, what are some issues, and it helps me put into perspective what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. Some red flags that I've seen on Google is when black people will talk about poor treatment, but there is really no specific reason to their poor treatment. Even if they don't identify it as being racist, they might have had issues checking in, and then people questioning them when they were in the lobby, and then, you know, someone like a staff member questioning why they were going up to the rooms when they clearly have a key, all that jazz. It makes me a little nervous because why would your staff assume that this person, this group of people is not staying in this hotel? Do you not typically have accommodations from black people? What's going on there? For hotels that have a restaurant attached, I always check the restaurant's reviews as well, because sometimes they're not a part of the hotel. Like, they're a part of the hotel, it's the same building, but they have their own Google review site. And I always want to check those as well. If black people aren't getting their food, or their food is cold, or the service is bad, that raises some alarms to me about the type of people that are in the town, if it's specifically black people, and what hotel staff might be like. Hazel the Stitch Witch asks, what factors determine if a town is safe? Having a black community at all is always something that I am very aware of. But if there is no black community, because sometimes you truly don't get to pick where you're going, if there's a family emergency or something like that, you might have to go wherever you have to go, if it's for work, whatever the case is. I always try to make sure that there is a large global majority community of some sort in that town. And when I say large, I mean businesses established, neighborhoods, all that jazz. I also kind of like to check out the vibe of the town. Like, I'll go on their tourist website if they have one, because I try to stick to large towns, so they do tend to have one. And I just see what kind of vibes they're putting out. Like, do you have any non-white people on your tourist page? Any blended families on your tourist pages? Any non-culturally white food options on your tourist pages? While some of these things aren't in like complete no, it does make me want to do more research into where I'm going if there are multiple things missing. That was the last question we got, but this is not the end of the video. You're actually going to be going on the road trip with us. I'm not saying like where we're going because the internet is a unique place, but I will kind of show you how I'm planning on packing and all that jazz. First and foremost, these are a few of the items that I like to bring. Right here we have a pack and play. Technically the baby is too tall. I mean, not technically, actually. They're too tall for this, but they still hit the weight limit, so we just use it for travel. We have the diaper bag, which we only really use for our car things. It's got all of our headphones, it's got the baby's tablet, it's got extra cords. This is what we'll be taking into Walmart. And then we have our cooler, which is not fully packed. Up top, we've got some goldfish and some Nutri-Grain bars. And then inside will be bottled water, dates, and oranges. Sorry, I had to put my glasses on so that I could see. While we're normally like very environmentally friendly and we have our water bottles, I do not stop for water until we get to our designated stops. So we do like to keep water in the car. The reason why they're not in there now is because all of that is in the fridge and I just want to make sure that it stays cool. I've got our garment bag and our luggage packed. And yes, this one is a return of our suitcase that we got for our Disney trip. The only reason why we're bringing this one is because it's all of our casual clothes and all of the baby's necessities. And while we could have brought our other two vintage cases, why? And this one is nice and hard, so it'll protect the stuff that is too cumbersome to go into the garment bag. For traveling, we always like to be coordinated as a family and a little dressed up. Think like business casual. If we do get into a situation where we do have an unexpected stop, I want them to find me, and I really hate this term, but respectable. Sometimes you gotta swallow your pride for the safety of your child. The last huge thing that we make sure that we have before any road trips is our AAA card. And I notify someone in my family, usually Mama Muse, and I share trip progress with her. I do mean that literally, like I'm not just texting her or calling her, like I share my trip through Google Maps to her directly. So if we're not where we're supposed to be in a certain amount of time, she reaches out and goes, what's going on? Google Maps has a feature where you can save your trip so that if you do happen to go offline, which is likely when you're on a road trip, you don't get lost. In the car itself, we have chargers for the phone, for the tablet. I make sure to carry like external chargers just in case, and we should be set to go. Whenever we do a road trip, one of us will be driving. Who will it be? Will it be me? Will it be Dionysus? Will it be the baby? No, I'm just joking. One of us will be driving a certain leg of the trip. The other person is in the back seat with the baby so that we can monitor any eating with snacks, or we can help with charging tablet, or we can draw, whatever the case is. And then as far as the car itself, I make sure to go in, have the oil change, have the tires rotated. I make sure my lug nuts are good. I have air in my tires. My fluid is topped off. This is the time that I do any of those little special add-ons. So any fuel extenders, any air filter changes, that's when I try to get those done. I also make sure that we have jumper cables, that we have air in our donut, and that our donut is in good condition, and that we have our little toolbox like road safety kit just in case. While we have AAA takes time, and AAA can only come if you have service. So you still want to make sure that you are fully prepared to deal with some emergencies on your own. For this road trip, I will be starting the first leg, then it will be Dionysus. Then it will be me. So I will check back in with y'all at 3 o'clock in the morning because we are heading out at 4 o'clock in the morning. Good morning. It is very early. I'm being a little bit quieter because my family is still asleep. I have already gotten my daily routine done. I'm still like t-shirt drying my hair, but I've got on makeup, all that jazz. So now we're going to get the car packed. Unfortunately, I won't be able to film the very beginning of our trip because it's dark outside. But once we get some light and I am in the back seat, I will clue y'all in on what's going on and our process. So join us.
All right, we are on the road and it's finally light enough to film a little bit. So we are headed out. Muse is driving and we are on our way.
So we have made it to our first Walmart. It is light, bright, and sunny. The baby is back there, but they're in their bonnet and all that jazz and still in pajamas. So we're going to go in, get some food, get dressed, get gas, and get going. But the first leg went really well. And the option to stop anywhere wasn't really presented because there was like nothing for the first 2 hours. So yeah. Hello, we just ate our lunch in our car. We have a little bit left over. We just got sandwiches from Walmart. And now we are back on the road. Do you want to say hi, baby?
Hi, baby.
Hi, baby. I also wanted to explain what stopping looked like for us. First, we went to the bathroom. We got the baby out of their pajamas. We grabbed some food. So for us, we each got a sandwich. And then we got some fruit. We got blackberries. Dionysus and I got pickles. And the baby got a Three Musketeers bar. After eating, we went ahead and used the bathroom once again before we got onto the road, and then we went and got gas, and now we'll be going to our second stop. Hi, we just got to our next location. We're not hungry and we still have food from our last trip. So we are instead at a mall that I researched on the way since I wasn't driving. It's in a well-populated area. It's actually... The baby wants to take the poppet inside, which is fine. So we are here. We're just kind of going to walk around, stretch our legs, go to the bathroom, all that jazz. So we are back on the road. The baby is currently taking a nap right now. We're kind of hitting some traffic, but it's like 4 o'clock, so that's to be expected. But it's moving traffic, so I can deal with that. And we are on the last leg of this journey. Our next stop is our destination, and this trip has gone very, very well. But I think it went so well because of the planning. And I think when you're planning a trip like this using the Green Book rules, the rules that a lot of Black people still live by, you can do little deviations. Like we went to the mall and walked around, which was a little deviation, but I already knew the city we were going to stop in. I'd already researched that. I'd already researched the different parts of town, so I knew that this would be a safe place to stop. And it was a safe place to stop. There were a lot of Black people walking around. These are just really important things that can enhance your trip, but it does take planning to do those things. All right, so we will see y'all at the destination. We've got some more driving to do. We have about 3 hours, 30-ish minutes left of our journey, and then we will be ready to check into the hotel. From coming in last night, so I didn't even film. It's the next day, but I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something, and if you have any questions on this process, if there's something that you still want to know about, please leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Thank you to Pixie Rose, Laura, DSA Threads, Melanie, Serena, GP, Kathleen, Fumbling with Thimbles, Just Casted, Mama, and Kelly.